Like, what do you think? You think you did it like out of coping because life was so difficult back in those times, or did it just make the day a little bit easier?
Are there enough? None of the above.
Uh-huh.
I did it because I like doing it. 84% of the schools in HISD have lead in the water. Well, lead can, I like to put it like this. An 8-year-old girl in elementary school, lives in the community. She drinks the water in the school and maybe even at home too. We was covered in homes as well. Grows up, goes to college, graduates, goes to college, graduates, decides she wants to raise a family, raises a family, has a child, and the child is discovered to have lead in his blood. And that's primarily due because she never knew she had lead in her blood.
Oh.
You see what I mean? And it can create some birth defects, excuse me, learning disabilities. There are so many issues that lead in drinking water can create.
Hello, welcome to Most Famous, where we are not. And today I'm joined by my pops. This is my dad's dad. He runs his own nonprofit organization that is very successful. He's a man with many stories and many experiences, and hopefully you can take something away from him today. James Caldwell, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Papa, could you tell us where you're from, what it was like growing up, and how young you are?
Let's start with how young I am. 70 years young.
70 years young.
And I'm a native Houstonian. I grew up in Fifth Ward, Texas, home of the Mickey Lelands, the Barbara Jordans, and the George Foremans. George used to take my lunch money.
Yeah.
Every time I see him now, I ask him about that 35 cents. But anyway, it's another story.
Right. What was it like growing up for you?
One of seven.
A little
tough. A little tough. Even though both parents worked, it was still a little tough. I'm the second oldest. I have an older sister. And of course, I got 5 more under me. And it was tough because, when you're the oldest, you have to concede to the youngest.
Yeah. So, was there big age gaps?
Actually, the first 3, they're a year apart. Like 52, 53, and 54.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Then there was a 2-year gap, and then one, and then another 2-year gap, and then one, and I think then that was a 1-year gap.
What made the growing up situation tough for you? What do you think?
I grew up in an era that was a little difficult, segregation.
Yeah.
A little bit different, finding jobs, and of course, the economic status. That actually afforded an opportunity. Got a good education, managed to get to college, but it was just tough all around because changes was taking place across the country itself.
Wow.
And not fast enough down south, but changes were happening for the good. And, even now, it's not fast enough.
Yeah, that's tough. So you had real difficulty, like, finding jobs and, like...
Well, you could find a job, but could you survive off of it? That was the key. I think the first job I had, I was about 9, 10 years old. My mom worked. She didn't work. She patroned a furniture store there, and went in there with her one Saturday, and the guy who owned the store, Jack, Mr. Morris, asked if he could hire me for just to kind of dust and sweep and put together little things, like that. And that was my first job, and I made $5 a week.
$5 a week. $5 a week. Oh, damn.
That was big money back then.
Yeah, that was big money.
That was big money back then.
So when you were growing up, like, what was your earliest aspirations? Like, where did you want to be when you was a boy?
Well, I grew up playing basketball, so I
hoop
wanted
games.
to play basketball to my knees. So I tore my cartilage in my knees. But I had a second dream, and that was to fly jets. Wanted to fly jets, and didn't know it at the time. But after I had to have knee surgery because I had my cartilage were torn, and I passed the original physical, and then when they called me back in
for flying jets, there's a physical.
what they call it, the civil service exam. I mean, I took that, and then I applied with the Air Force, and they called me back in, and they told me arthritis had settled in my knee. However, let's just be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the best shape of my life.
Yeah, you was in the best shape.
I wasn't worried,
Yeah.
and I let them know, come on, this Air Force, it's like Cub Scout camp.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys ain't, running 20 miles a day.
Right.
Like
So what do you think it was underlying? Like you think they was just
it was arthritis. What it was, Uncle Sam didn't want to take on the liability. As a liability. Even though the boot camp 6 weeks and this kind of stuff, Uncle Sam did not want to take on the liability of if anything should occur during training. Of course, they would be liable, and at least that's what the recruiters do.
like the liability of you getting hurt?
Yeah.
Because of the there's cartilage and stuff.
Right. My knee.
Gotcha.
It was about a year or so after the surgery that I applied.
Gotcha.
Because by then I got married and trying to raise a family, and there were benefits, to being in the Air Force, or being in the service period. I already had 2+ years of college, and if you applied for the military in form with 2 years, upon making basics, you became an officer.
Right. I didn't know that. Well,
Second lieutenant. So, I said, well, okay, I won't be the grunt, so I'll be the officer. So I applied for that, and like I say it didn't happen. So it was kind of like 2 dreams shattered.
right. The hoop dreams and the Jets dream.
Yeah,
Right.
but you young at the time. Like I say, married and trying to determine what I want to do with my life. Not like I didn't have any good jobs. I worked for the bus service here at the time. Actually, I worked for all of them at the time. I think it was Rapid Transit, and it changed to U-Tran and then the Metro.
Right.
So I did all 3.
So you did after you found out that the Jets thing wasn't going to work out. Like, what did you do next?
Well, that's what it was. That's what basically happened. I knew I had a family, and I needed to try to provide for them, so I had to find the next best job. And that was it. Metro, and then of course after that I left there to go to the Postal Service.
Oh, went to Postal Service.
I worked for the Postal Service.
So was it after the Jets training? It was the buses and then the Postal Service after.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was looking for a job that paid well, that I could provide for my family.
Right.
Of course, I didn't. Just be honest about it. Good paying jobs. Young and stuff, and made some not wise decisions and choices. Of course, I had some other baggage that I was carrying along with me as well. So
yeah. So when I've heard that my dad's talking about like the substance abuse you deal with, how did that started? And
when I was young, as I say, I grew up in Fifth Ward, and it was a portion that was called the Harbor. It was called Pearl Harbor at the time. All of it's gone now. All of it's gone, but it including the homes that we stayed in. But in growing up in that era, in that community, it was a lot of things: prostitution, drugs, and hustling, gambling, all of the above. All of the above, and I was privy to it all. I had an uncle who was a pimp, and just all of the above. And I used to call myself drinking when I was maybe about 12, 13 years old. And somebody introduced me to, I don't even remember who it was, marijuana. And I started smoking it, and I said, wow, this is cool. No hangover. No hangover in the morning. And of course, that led to many, many other things. And I say many other things, I do mean many other things. Because I grew up, as I said, during the 60s and the early 70s. And believe me, it was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge. But it led me to you can run the gambit of drug use or drug misuse or whatever, however you want to term it. And yeah, I did it all.
Yeah.
I did it all. You couldn't escape me, from the powders to the pills to the rails. Some of them know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about them rails, but yeah, but we did it again.
So, and like, what do you think? You think you did it like out of coping because life was so difficult back in those times, or did it just make the day a little bit easier?
Oddly enough, none of the above. I did it because I like doing it. You know, it wasn't. You know, I do. As a matter of fact, this evening I got one. I do a recovery group class. I've been in recovery now for about 14 years.
That's awesome.
And,
like AA meetings?
Yeah, and we do one every Sunday. But as I tell, you know, the young men, all the guys in the group there, I didn't do drugs because I was worried, you know, had issues, things. I did drugs because I liked doing drugs. You know, I like doing drugs. The only reason why I went to rehab was to find out why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
You know? And of course, during the process, you know, you discovered I had a disease, a sickness, you know, and I didn't want to acknowledge that till in rehab. One of the counselors there shared with me the fact, well, shared with the group, that there are some of us who can do drugs, do alcohol, and 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, go home and get up and go to work the next day, you know. And there are some of us who couldn't, you know, and said those were the ones who couldn't were the ones who crossed the line from social drinking and drugging into addiction.
Right.
And once you cross that line into addiction, you can never go back to social drinking and drugging. You cannot do it. So the only alternative is to quit.
Right.
You know, it's to work a program of maintenance and recovery that will help you sustain your sobriety, and that's what I do.
Gotcha. So, if you go back to those times, like, do you remember like how bad it got? When did you look in the mirror and said, "Oh, there's need to be a change"?
It got bad. You know, rob, steal, all of the above. That's it. You can pick a choice. You can pick an issue. You can pick whatever it is that you choose to. I pretty much did it all because I wanted to feed my addiction. Yeah. I'd rob, steal. It didn't matter. Your mom, grandma, sister, brother, uncle, aunt, niece, nephew, strangers. It didn't matter. It didn't matter because the only thing I was concerned about at that time was addressing my addiction. You know, this. Some people refer to it as the monkey on your back, but whatever term that you want to use in regard to it, you know, heck, I just want to get high.
So there were times that you robbed people or steal people just to get some money?
Oh, yeah. And anything and everything, you know. I wanted what I want when I wanted.
Yeah. Gotcha. I get for sure. So you look back at the drug addiction. Who helped you? Who helped you the most when in your recovery of it?
You know, family and friends, and they all, you know, you try to hide that, but this, you may hide it from yourself, but everybody else knows it. I think I was probably, and I'm not patting or touting myself or anything like that. It's just that I knew I had a problem. You know, I just didn't want to address it. I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And finally, as I said, I went to rehab because I wanted to find out why I liked drugs and alcohol so much that I was willing to forsake everything, marriages, children, everything. Your dad, you know what I mean, for my addiction. So yeah, it was some things that I had to, that I knew that I needed to address, but I wasn't willing to address them until that reality hit me. In recovery, we call it that moment of clarity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had that moment of clarity, and that's when I decided to let me try this. You know what I mean? Because ain't nothing else working.
Yeah. What's this? You mean like rehab, or
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let me try.
Let me try to get sober.
Yeah, trying to get sober. When you say your dad, what do you take back, or like, is there anything you regret the way you raised your boys, my dad and my uncle?
Yeah, because I would have liked to have been there
Uh-huh.
more often than I was. Me and your grandmother, my ex-wife,
Mm-hmm.
loved her to death, but I love my drugs more. I love my drugs more and my lifestyle more. Looking back on it, being honest and truthful about it, those were the things. And as I look back on it, I couldn't expect her to accept that kind of behavior and what have you. And I intended in life to get married only once. Raise a family, all of the above, and none of that actually materialized. And that was because of me.
Yeah.
That was because of me. It wasn't because of anything else. It was because of me.
Yeah.
And taking responsibility, excuse me, and owning up to my stuff.
Yeah.
And that was my stuff. And over the years, as time went on, you look at it, you read it, you can't change none of it. You know what I mean? You cannot change none of it. But what you can do is try to work on that still remains. And that's what I do now.
Yeah. So, is there anything like, have you talked to my dad about it and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You talked about it?
Yeah. Your dad, your uncle, my other son, yeah. And it's not like as they grew older and became men, in life, that they weren't aware.
Yeah. Gotcha. So you get past that. Are you sober now?
Oh yeah, so 14 years.
14 years. Dang. When do you hit your year of sobriety? What day is that? Did you stop drinking?
It was 3/11/09.
3/11/09. So recently.
No.
Dang! Congratulations. Yeah. So you passed all that.
11/10.
11/10.
14. Yeah.
Oh, the 14. Yeah. So you passed all that, right? And then I'm very curious as to could you explain what exactly a nonprofit organization is?
A nonprofit basically is an organization that is not for profit, that provides some type of social, economic resource, education, information, issues, opportunities to a community. Okay, and you do it not for profit.
Yeah.
Now, there are government fundings, state, local, and of course federal funding for that. But there are also foundations and other corporate entities that will provide funding for you to be able to do certain things. Case in point, I'm the founder and director of COCO, which stands for Coalition of Community Organizations. And what we do basically is we're a nonprofit, and what we do, we inform and we educate and we connect communities to resources. Doesn't matter what that resource may be, or what that information may be, or what that educational opportunity may be. We don't provide it, but we network with
y'all bridge the gap between two parties and stuff.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what it's environmental issues, whether it's healthcare issues, whether it's housing issues, infrastructure issues. It does not matter. We may not know, but we work with other entities, network with other entities that do know, and that's how we connect you to it. Our database is over about 5,000, or it's over 5,000. And it consists of.
What do you mean by you say database? Like the reach?
Yeah. How we do this is it's via emails. Okay. We have entities share emails concerning issues with us.
Right.
And we share that with our communities.
Okay.
Okay. and it doesn't. There's no fee or charge for that. We just provide that, because we want our communities to be informed and educated on issues that are going to impact and affect them. Our motto basically is: if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Right.
We try to get our communities off the menu and have a seat at the table so that they can make some decisions and some choices that's going to improve their quality of life.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
About 2/3, I say, our database consists of churches, businesses, schools, super neighborhoods, civic clubs, other nonprofits, our educators, politicians, all the above. And that's all the way from city council members to commissioners to state reps, state senators, governors. Excuse me, all of them, including some federal entities as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, but mostly 2/3 of our database though is residents.
As residents.
Yeah, because we want
Gotcha.
them to be to have the information that's needed.
Right. So it seems like you're pretty high in the organization, right? So how exactly did you get into the nonprofit business?
Going back to my addiction, okay. I worked in New York for several years with a newspaper, the Daily News, and I came home and didn't have a job or nothing like that. Of course, still in my addiction. And I was a young preacher by the name of Winston James, and he had a facility called the Life Center. And I went there, and he eventually I became his house manager. He got me into ministry there, okay? And it was what I saw in working with him. He did a lot of street ministry. We went out on the streets. We went to this facility, this location, that location. We would feed on, I think it was a Tuesday night. I don't think we did Wednesday. I think it was Tuesday night. And we'd invite whomever to come and be a part of, the service as well as receive.
So it was you and him, and y'all would go around feeding people in New York and stuff, and giving back to people in New York.
Yeah, pretty much. We would invite them. Sometimes it was just a street ministry. We just go out and minister.
Oh, okay.
We did LBGT. I'll think of it right in a minute.
LGBTQ. Yeah.
Parades and all this stuff here. We did all of the above, just to go out there and share the gospel.
Back in the day?
Back in the day.
Dang, so that's cool, because that's you out really early to the curve.
Oh, it was wild.
What year you think that was, like in the 90s, 80s?
That was in the 80s.
80s?
It was in the 80s, yeah, because, and it was tough, because I can remember going there and during one incident, we had balloons, feces, and urine thrown at us. Yeah,
really?
It was not. Yeah, it wasn't fun. It was not fun. But those experiences and being a part of it, seeing things, doing things, taught me a lot. I learned a lot in regard to it, and most of that is how willing are you. How much are you willing to endure?
Yeah.
You say you're a man of peace. You say that you want to bring about change, but there's work attached to it.
Yeah.
And how dedicated are you to doing the work?
Right. So you were doing that back in the day, and you liked the feeling of giving back and stuff like that, and you wanted to expand upon that.
I saw the need. You see the needs. You see the pain. You see the suffering, you see the misery, you know what I mean? And you ask yourself, what can I do about it?
Yeah.
And once you ask that question, then you ask yourself, how willing am I? How far am I willing to go to help bring about the change? And that's why the dedication and the commitment comes in, and that's what brought about Coco, what I mean? Because I realized as one person, I couldn't change the world, but I could be a part of that change.
Right. That's awesome. No, that's cool. So how'd you get into Coco then? Like, did you have to do an interview? How'd that go?
No.
Or did Coco start in New York?
Yeah. No, it didn't start in New York. It started here.
Okay.
kind of started Coco basically, in Fifth Ward, but you know, it was an idea, it was a concept, it wasn't a reality as of yet, and that was a young man that came down. This was in 2008, 2007 actually, and his name was Danny Vike, and Danny was from Utah, and he was an organizer. He was an organizer with the Obama Super PAC.
Oh wow.
And, yeah, and I took him around in the community and elsewhere, and tried to get him to help organize. And I working with volunteer with TOP, Texas Organizing Project here in Houston. Got a lot of different groups, but in our work and our going around, we discovered that information was not always being shared. Amongst entities
About like where you can get resources or
resources, information, funding, the gambit, the whole gambit.
So that's where you got the idea of bridging the gap between like parties.
Yeah, and talking to Danny, Mr. Vike, we saw that, and I guess you can refer to it as a revelation. The revelation came. Well, they don't want to share it. They don't want to do it. You do it. You do it. You be the conduit. You be the go-between.
Yeah.
You get the information here. You share it there, and you get it from there, and you share it here.
Yeah.
So, and that's why the concept came about. Being a preacher, and Hosea saying basically, 4:6 said, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge," and that's true.
Yeah.
What you don't know will destroy you. Because you don't have the knowledge, you don't have skills, you don't have the information, you don't have the resources, you don't have none of the above.
Right.
So how do you get that? For some of our communities, underserved, neglected, communities, and I'm speaking primarily of Black and brown communities, how do you get that? How do you get that? You have someone who can provide you with the resources, with the information, give you the education and the tools that you need in order to succeed. In order to succeed, we've had folks share a lot of things with us in regard to what we've been able to provide for them. Opportunities to get vaccinations, opportunity to get housing.
Yeah.
Breaking them aware.
What's one of y'all's like most notable achievements?
Quite a few. We managed to get the EPA director down here to go on a tour of Fifth Ward, and got our congresswoman to do it. The Al Gore
What's the
tour.
EPA?
Environmental Protection Agency. We were the kind of stimulus for the cocoa, along with, and that's why Impact was developed. Most people may be familiar with the creosote issue with Union Pacific over in Fifth Ward, and there's no creosote plant there. Creosote is a chemical that they used to dump the logs in that used to go under the railroad tracks. It was a preservative, but it had toxic and carcinogens in it, and the plant was over there, and that's why they made it. And that whole area over there is contaminated and has been contaminated for decades.
Decades now.
Decades, yeah. And we were able to get the community rallied to educate them, provide them with some insight on healthcare information, all of the above, because then we were able to get the congresswoman to get the health department to come in and do a little health survey, and it's a cancer cluster over there. It's not just a cancer cluster, but it's also a leukemia cluster for children 6 and under. We discovered all this.
Wow.
Efforts to do that, and so bringing the EPA now is meeting with the communities in Fifth Ward, Casimir Ward area they're doing the testing with Union Pacific, and they're going to share that with the community. The community will be a part of that, so that resolution and solutions can finally be brought to this issue.
Wow!
Because hundreds of people, if not thousands, have died as a result of this. We also do lead. We discovered through our efforts and working with One Breath Partnership, which is another nonprofit, that 84% of high schools in HISD have lead in the water. You know, and that's most folks don't know that. And that's what's really scary. 84% of the schools in HISD have lead in the water. Now
and let's put like, well, it's poisonous, right?
no, well, lead can. I like to put it like this: an 8-year-old girl in elementary school, lives in the community. She drinks the water in the school and maybe even at home too. We've covered it in homes as well. Grows up, goes to college, graduates, goes to college, graduates, decides she wants to raise a family, raises a family, has a child, and the child is discovered to have lead in his blood. And that's primarily due because she never knew she had lead in her blood.
Oh.
You see what I mean? And it can create some birth defects, excuse me, learning disabilities. There are so many issues that lead in drinking water can create.
Wow. Okay.
So we want to bring that to our community's attention, along with our state of Creosote. We've been able to get air monitors first time in Fifth Ward. We have 5 now, and we're going to get a regulatory, which is the big monitor.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah, so we've been able to accomplish some things over the years, the 16 years that we've been, and we're proud of that. But the work doesn't stop. We still have batch plants, metal recyclers, PM 2.5 with the expansion of the freeways and all of these things. We could go on and on.
Yeah. That's crazy. So what are some of the misconceptions you think about running a nonprofit business?
You make a lot of money. That's the first thing. And that nonprofits themselves can bring about that change that you seek or desire. We're a link in that chain, but we're not, and none of them are.
Yeah.
It's the linkage that helps bring about that change. And the misconception is that nonprofits are here to give, provide, assist, and they are. But we're not the miracle workers.
Yeah.
We're not the.
But y'all are essential, though, it seems.
Of course, because without the nonprofits, where would the funding come from to bring about that awareness, that education, and those resources?
So are you saying that people think that y'all are like the end all be all? So like, but that's not true.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll contact you expecting you to resolve their problem. What we do, like I said, we work with some legal aspects. We work with Lone Star Legal Aid. What we don't know, if they have a legal issue or what have you, we'll refer them to them. If there's an environmental issue, we'll know who to refer them to, who to seek out.
Yeah.
If it's a housing issue, we have a group that meets with the housing director. Once every other month now, to find out and to ask questions first of all, and to find out where the housing department is on repair, funding, whatever the issues may be. Having that seat at the table to have that conversation to find out.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, you look back at your life and stuff. You had a strong addiction to drugs and stuff, and then you run one of the most successful nonprofits in Houston. It seems like that. So what's the biggest lesson you've learned in running, living both lives, giving back and taking, in a sense?
Don't quit.
Don't quit.
Don't quit. It appears at some moments that, because if you'd have told me, I've been doing this 16 years, you'd have told me 17, 18 years ago that I would find a nonprofit and run it. It would have some accomplishments attached to it, and we'd have the degree of acknowledgement and recognition that we do. I'd have told you were insane.
Yeah.
Really, I would have, but don't quit. Because it's not a pot of gold. Yeah. But there is success and there is fulfillment and contentment. Trust God to provide that direction, and that purpose.
Yeah.
That's it. Because whether you realize it or not, all of us are born with a purpose, And whether we acknowledge that or not, the potential to fulfill that purpose is already inside.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
already inside you. You just have to be willing to not quit.
Yeah, not quit.
Not quit. Just stay focused. Don't quit. And you'll be amazed at yourself.
And what
At
happened?
what you'll be able to accomplish.
That's great. That's great. And then lastly, so what do you think your biggest regret was? It's kind of hard because since your nonprofit is so successful, all that kind of has to fall in place. But like, what do you think if you were to make a slight change in your life?
Yeah, boy, you say that was the last question? Jeez. We'll be here into the night. Probably. So many.
Yeah, you can give us a few.
You know, just so many. I think the biggest regret was not starting sooner, not recognizing. You heard me just speak of the potential, and the purpose, not recognizing that. So now everything's in a season, everything's for a season, but if there's a regret that I have, it's not recognizing that sooner, seeing that sooner, because I understand now
What do you mean by seeing
the
that?
ability to do what I do now.
Oh, okay.
The ability.
So you wish you would have
to
started the
reach
nonprofit
more.
sooner, in a sense?
Yeah, I did more sooner. I told you I wanted to play ball and I wanted to fly jets. I didn't tell you the third one. The third one I wanted to be an attorney.
You wanted to be a lawyer.
Because I realized I could perhaps change some things, and all of that went to the wayside. A lot of it's depression, sadness, because dreams are not fulfilled and addressed. But I just wish that I'd gotten out of the quote unquote pity party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just stayed focused. And that's why I say don't quit.
Yeah, don't quit.
Don't quit. You know what I mean? Because you're going to have some regrets, some setbacks, some disappointments all along the way, along that road. But don't quit. Because there are rewards attached to it too.
Yeah.
And those rewards are rewarding, as long as you're willing to stay in the race.
Yeah, that's great. Now, that's the last question. Is there any way I can, maybe put something on the screen, support your Coco Melon?
Yeah.
Coco Melon. That's crazy.
It's called, you can reach us at cocohoustonnow@gmail.com. We redoing our website, and I think it's Coco Houston Now at gmail.org.
Okay, yeah. I'll plug it. I'll make sure it's all right. Thank y'all so much for watching. Mr. James Caldwell, and I'll see y'all next Monday.